Mr. Kejriwal has once again embarrassed himself, and he has been severely rebuked by many Singaporean leaders for making such baseless comments.
देश के पेरेंट्स से बात कर लीजिए, आप किसी भी आदमी से बात कर लीजिए, उससे पूछिए कि उसको सिंगापुर के साथ इमेज की चिंता है या अपने बच्चों की चिंता है। सारे माँ बाप कहेंगे कि हमें अपने बच्चों की चिंता है, लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी को सिंगापुर में इमेज की चिंता है।
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Shivani Gupta. There is a lot of pandemic politics playing out in India. Just yesterday, the BJP accused the Congress of deliberately maligning India and Prime Minister Modi by allegedly asking leaders and social media warriors to term COVID strain B1617 prevalent in India as Indian variant or even Modi strain. Today, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal is under the hammer by not just External Affairs Ministry but also Singaporean authorities for wrongly terming the COVID variant in Singapore as a new Singapore variant and one that could cause harm in India to children by triggering a third wave. Delhi Chief Minister had said that there is a new variant found in Singapore that is proving to be dangerous for kids and this could cause a third wave in India. Therefore, central government must suspend flights from the country and also expedite a vaccine for kids. In response, the Singapore mission in India has said that there is no truth in the assertion that there is a new COVID strain in Singapore. Phylogenetic testing has shown that B1617.2 variant is the prevalent strain in many of the COVID cases, including in children, in recent weeks in Singapore. In other words, they disputed that any new variant has been found and also pointed out that the variant affecting children is the same as the one already prevalent in India. In fact, Singapore was the one that restricted travel from India because of the second wave here. In a rather uncharacteristically stern response, India External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar also tweeted, amongst other things, that, and I quote, "However, irresponsible comments from those who should know better can damage long-standing partnerships. So let me clarify, Delhi Chief Minister does not speak for India," unquote. So even as Singapore and Indian External Affairs Ministry sees red over Delhi Chief Minister's terminology, the question we ask today, and it's a larger one, should politicians not stay away from naming COVID variants? Let me go across to the guests who are joining us. Preeti Sharma of the Aam Aadmi Party is joining us. Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow ORF and also international affairs expert. Preeti, let me come to you. We're also expecting Neha Joshi from the BJP to join us. Your intentions aside, the fact that the Delhi Chief Minister is worried about children being affected, we all are, frankly. I don't think anybody is not concerned about that. Would you not say that terming it a new variant in Singapore or linking it with Singapore was callous and was imminently avoidable?
I disagree, and I think I would like to first point out that he's not called it the Singapore variant, or he's not named it any variant at all. Please read the tweet, please display the tweet. All he said is that the Singapore, and that came from the Singapore Education Minister, the Singapore has said that the new variant, which could be the Indian variant that they're talking about, is very harmful to children. And therefore, we must take action on this. And I think that is the most normal request. In fact, I remember when the UK variant had happened, which was later called the UK variant, immediately as it had happened, Arvind Kejriwal had requested that borders with UK be sealed. The central government did not listen to that at all. It delayed, it prevaricated, it didn't do anything at all. Many other countries sealed borders with UK. We were one of the last to do so, and we opened them very quickly. At that time, the second wave crossed over to India as well. So I think that if a state was worried about his citizens, the chief minister is worried about his citizens and is concerned, this government doesn't listen to letter writing, it doesn't listen to anything. I think it's absolutely right to express a fear that a particular country is saying that a variant is dangerous to children. Let's close borders with them. It's a very rational requirement.
Okay.
But the issue is not that. 1 minute, just let me complete my point. The issue is always of the fact that there is no preparation in this government regarding vaccines for children or vaccines even for you and me. There is nothing that this government, this is all distracting. You know, a Congress toolkit, a comment by Arvind Kejriwal, all ministries have been involved in spreading BJP propaganda and protecting the BJP. And now for the first time in India, the External Affairs Ministry has also got into dirty politics in between other political parties. They didn't need to do that. Whatever had to be said to the Singapore High Commission to explain that this is the viewpoint of one chief minister who's worried about his own state and he has
Okay.
not named it the Singapore variant. Instead of doing that, they have actually fueled this dispute. So
Okay,
I don't
let me
know
come
what
in
kind
now.
of diplomacy this is, but my point remains that the BJP is only concerned about international
I
image
will
building.
take that. I will
It is
take that.
not concerned about the health of our children and
I
our
will
people.
take that, Preeti. Let me go across to Neha also, who's joining us. Since you mentioned about the tweet, सिंगापुर में आया कोरोना का नया रूप बच्चों के लिए बेहद खतरनाक बनाया जा रहा है. भारत में ये तीसरी लहर के रूप में आ सकता है. So the insinuation definitely is that there is a new variant in Singapore that can come to India. Now it has been found to be erroneous. So the question I will come to you in a bit is, why not just say that, okay, we were a little misinformed, we apologize, it's not a new variant, it is not going to come from Singapore to India, it is already there in India. But on your allegation of being more concerned about international image, let Leha respond to that.
Thank you, Shivani. Thank you for having me. Very good evening. See, the process of naming a virus, it's scientific and also political. I would go back to 2019 when this virus originated in Wuhan, and people started calling it the Wuhan virus. You would recall, Shivani, that there was an uproar in
Yes.
several places in the world where they said that this has ethnocentric sort of implications, and we also did see sporadic incidents where the Chinese
Backlash,
community.
yes.
Yes, there were attacks on them. There was certain discrimination that was being practiced. Hence, there is a due process how a virus is named. The Marburg virus, very interestingly, is named after a German university. The Zika virus, it's named after a forest in Uganda, and these are names that have stuck. However, the WHO follows a process of how a virus can be named, and it's absolutely prohibited to attribute a geography,
Yes.
a region, a country with the virus.
But on the international image question, that is what AAP is alleging.
I'm coming to that. So, I understand that Mr. Kejriwal does not have much experience in governance, let alone in, diplomacy. What he did yesterday goes way beyond that. So Singapore is a natural ally of India, even when we are battling the second wave of COVID. Singapore has been standing with us, whether it's supply of remdesivir, whether it's supply of cryogenic tankers. Singapore has stood by us by making a loose remark as that there is no variant called a Singapore variant as certified by the WHO or any other agency that may be competent enough to do so. So to allege that there is a Singapore variant, the AAP spokesperson can spin yarns here talking about international image, but it is the international community that has stood by India in its fight against COVID, just as India stood by them.
Okay, all right. Let me just bring in Preeti. I'll come back to you.
Can I first respond to what you said?
I'll just come back to you. Preeti, I'll come back to you.
Kejriwal hasn't called it the Singapore variant.
I took that point. Preeti, you made that point.
She's misinforming people.
I also read out his tweet. I'm going to come back to you on this. Please hold on. Ashok Sajjanhar, my question to you is this. Do you feel the Indian government, the central government did the right thing by intervening here? Or were they left with no choice because ultimately it played out in public?
Well, Shivani, I don't think that the Indian government played it out there, because basically it was the Indian High Commissioner in Singapore who was summoned by the Singapore Foreign Office. So, meaning India had no option but to respond to the démarche that was made.
Okay.
And, so I don't think you can point fingers at Indian government that they have done something, that they are trying to play politics, as, someone here has said. Not at all. I think it's a very straightforward statement that the Chief Minister of Delhi does not speak for India. He doesn't determine or articulate the Indian foreign policy, and I think that's a statement of fact. I'm sure Mr. Kejriwal would also not abrogate to himself that he is the one who will, be determining the foreign policy and he'll be pronouncing it. But, just to come on that image thing, let me also say one thing. I don't think it's a question of image. It's a question of relations, and the relations with Singapore are extremely vital, are extremely important. It's one of the largest investors into India. Also, whenever we've had our relations with the ASEAN, with the Southeast Asian countries, it is Singapore that has always supported India, whether it was 1992 when Mr. Narasimha Rao spoke about the Lookie's policy. It was in Singapore that he pronounced the elements of this policy.
Right.
Even now, as far as the Act East policy, Singapore has been our strongest partner. On the Indo-Pacific, it was Prime Minister Modi who spoke about it in Singapore. So Singapore is a very important strategic partner of India, and sort of, saying something, and it has been brought out clearly that flights from Singapore to India were stopped in March 2020.
Precisely.
So, meaning it's. And
Precisely.
last point I'll make here, Shivani, is that this B1617.2, it is prevalent not only in Singapore, it is prevalent in 44 other
Yes.
countries.
Yes.
It's not a single country. So I think the homework should be done by whichever political leader, political party wants to do, rather than sort of, jumping, going to the media, trying to be in sort of, in limelight, in focus, without having done your homework.
Okay.
Now that it has done, mistake has been done, just withdraw, rather than sort of, saying that children are concerned and you are not bothered about the children. I think the whole, all governments are bothered about the safety and health of children.
Right. So, Sushant, naturally, most countries are very touchy about variants being associated with them, especially in a climate when we cannot say Wuhan virus, even though the virus originated from China. And naturally, Chinese object to that. India will object to the use of the term Indian variant. Singapore will object to the term, if not Singapore variant, or identification of a variant from a geography, as Neha said. Do you think then, politicians should just be more careful about these things, not, tweet about this when they don't have all information, because they're not authorities on this?
But that would be true if the comments made by the Delhi minister were bona fide comments. Look, if you
about a certain variant, which according to his WhatsApp group he must have learnt of, because there is no other scientific evidence to suggest or to corroborate what he has said. Let us assume he heard it on one of his Aam Aadmi Party WhatsApp groups. And let us assume for a moment that he was genuinely concerned. Is Twitter and a medium for talking about something which has international ramifications, which has implications for your diplomatic relations with a very close strategic and diplomatic partner like Singapore, and a very important economic partner like Singapore? So that is one part of it. Are there no other mediums through which he can communicate with the central government, with the Prime Minister? There are meetings which are regularly held. If he was not into, airing those meetings to try and burnish his own credentials, that would have been much more better. That would have been much more sensible. But I don't think he was really concerned. I think he was trying to do some grandstanding, because please don't take this just as a tweet. Before this, there were these posters that Modi ne hamare bachon ke injection videsh bhej diye. You remember those posters?
Yeah.
I think it was completely wrong for anybody to arrest anybody for those posters. But having said, this is the campaign with Mr. Kejriwal, who has failed dismally in providing health facilities to citizens of Delhi, and who has spent hundreds of crores of rupees in his own publicity,
Right.
through newspaper ads and all. He is also facing sack. So now what he's trying to do is trying to catch on to an emotional issue which really does not exist, trying to agitate a public opinion on that. So this tweet was not as innocent or as, he, without realizing that he did it. It was typical of the crude, crass and low cunning politics which Mr. Kejriwal specializes in.
Okay,
Kind of
okay.
content
Punjab.
happening over. This is
Okay,
not
Sushant,
acceptable
I'll come
at all.
back to you. Preeti, I'm coming
This
to you
person,
next.
I read, person seems to be a BP spokesperson. Why don't you be clarified and say who they are first? This task is completely off the conversation that we are having, not on track, and it is not what we are saying over here. A chief minister is concerned that if there are any changes in the variant which Singapore Education Minister observed and shown in his school, we have to be, aware of it, and we have to act against it. It is perfect right for a state
Okay.
test.
Okay,
We
Preeti.
close Singapore closed borders to a moment. Singapore closed borders to many other countries have closed borders. Australia, New Zealand did it. So I think this new COVID world, countries will close borders if they feel
But Preeti, the reality is that Singapore has already restricted travel from India. So this demand to restrict travel in itself is coming, when something like that has already happened, and aviation minister has said that there are no flights currently operating except for Vande Bharat flights. So even that demand is a little too late after the action has already happened.
One moment. No. People from Singapore are still flying into India. They're doing it in Vande Bharat flights, or they're doing it from anywhere else. If a chief is concerned about his population and say he would like to close doors to a certain country, firstly, the central government out of that. This gentleman was upset about, so well, I'm going to push this poster because India has ordered 6.5 crore vaccines, which is almost the same amount of vaccines for our use.
Okay.
India's image thing, or I just say this is Narendra Modi's image, which this gentleman and the BJP persons keep indulging in. They are only about international.
Preeti, we are facing some issue with your audio. Let me try and correct that so that we can hear you properly. In the meantime, I just want to quickly play out what the Singapore High Commissioner to India, Simon Wong, has said.
Prominent political office holders must have a responsibility not to propagate falsehoods. So, indeed, in Singapore, there is an act called the Protection from Online Falsehoods and Manipulation Act, known as POFMA. So again, I just want to repeat that for me and for the Singapore government, we certainly appreciate the Indian government's crystal clear clarification, and we are satisfied with it. Down the road, when it arrives in India, quite equitable distributions of all this equipment to the states, and Delhi has been a beneficiary for some of these items.
All right. We're trying to reconnect with Preeti and just try to get a better line with her. But I want to go back across to Neha. You wanted to come in. The central point that the Aam Aadmi Party is raising is that, we are concerned about the kids in India. The Delhi Chief Minister is concerned about the population in Delhi. So there is no harm in what he has said.
Shivani, first of all, just like Sushant said earlier, this is a chief minister of a state. Whatever governance he may be in, but he's still chief minister of the. There are just lines of communication. He can pick up the phone and call the minister or any other in the government. He can call the health minister and express his concern. But the fact that he likes to call these press conferences or, live telecast meetings that are supposed to be private, it shows that he's trying to, just gain political brownie points. And he's a politician, not going into what kind of politician, but he's a politician and I'll let him do the politics. But what he's done this time is far too dangerous. He does not understand economic, diplomatic, any kind of relations.
Okay.
And what he's done, he's gone too far. I think
okay, let me take that to Preeti. She's back with us. Preeti, the central point is, again, concern for vaccination shortage in India aside, concern for kids getting affected aside, the information that the Chief Minister tweeted was erroneous. Why not just, for the sake of not just diplomatic relationships, but propriety, just say, okay, it may not be a new variant coming from Singapore to India. We apologize, we regret, and we hope that we can all continue to work together to protect the children. The information was erroneous.
No, I don't think so. I really think that, again, you're misinterpreting the tweet. Let me just firstly say this lady just said that what he said was dangerous. I'll tell you what was dangerous. What was dangerous was Modi ji exporting vaccines. What was dangerous was Modi ji exporting oxygen. What was dangerous was pure
humanity. That you and your
Chief
Minister do
really?
not understand.
That was humanity? Which country in the world has done? No, please don't interrupt me. I did not interrupt you.
Okay, one by one.
No, I will interrupt
humanity you. Has any other country in the world practiced humanity by
I am going to interrupt you. By the way, Shivani, let me tell you, Manish Sisodia, the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi,
one by one,
has just gone ahead and called a London strain. He's again attributed, he's again gone ahead and said London strain.
This is how lies is propagated on national television.
Absolutely
disgusting. PTI has just tweeted what Manish Sisodia has called is trying to build that image of Modi. Big international countries have parted with valuable resources of the country. They have parted with oxygen, they parted with medicines, they parted with, of course, the most crucial vaccines. No other country did that. United States, UK, Singapore, everybody bought vaccines for themselves. Nobody was.
There's a reason why India is called the pharmacy of the world.
India is
I'm not surprised that you don't know that.
Except the BJP. If we were the pharmacy of the world, we would have had 10 pharmaceutical companies manufacturing vaccines. We have given the monopoly to 2 companies.
Okay. I think the point here is
that.
Okay, may I please request both of you to please yield now, please. You've had your time. I want to go across to Ashok Sajjanhar once again.
I don't think I had any time at all. You have 2-3 BJP spokespersons on this panel.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, but it was not fair on your part to really slander the other panelists. Please, I request you, please. It is not fair. Everybody else has their own personal image and prestige involved. Please don't do that. We can do this in a better manner.
So,
Ashok Sajjanhar.
When you agree with me that if they are associated with the BJP, then their image gets slandered.
Ma'am, again, that is your view. But if you don't like their view, it is okay. I am willing to give you time for that. But please don't make these statements for other panelists. It is not fair. They are giving their view. They are also entitled to give their view. I would like to leave it at that. We don't want to waste more time on that. Preeti, I will come to you again for 30 seconds. Ashok Sajjanhar, the Delhi government insisted on linking the variant to Singapore. There are, of course, Indian politicians calling the strain found in India, Indian strain. We just need to move ahead from this because this is not helping anybody. This is all driven by domestic politics.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. This doesn't help anyone. And I think it takes our focus away from what we should be doing. And I think the governments really need to be left to do what they are doing. I'm very happy to see, on your channel, I just saw that the daily cases, the numbers have come down very significantly. Just about a week, 10 days ago, we are looking at 4,10,20,000. Today, we are looking at about 2,67,000. So I think that is a success. There is also success in terms of positivity rate. And I'm sure going forward within a few days or a week, we will also have in terms of number of deaths. Just let me add one more point, because there was a statement. I agree with you. I don't think the AAP representative should be slandering. I take strong objection to what she has said. I say what I think. I don't belong to any particular party or denomination. You see, it is the vaccines that have gone out from India. They have not gone out at the cost of Indian people. I don't buy that at all. When you are taking raw materials and inputs from the others, you also have a responsibility to share whatever you have. Otherwise, and also why more than 50 countries are coming to your aid and help and support at this time. Everyone says, whether it is Biden, whether it is Singapore, everyone says, whether it is Johnson, they say, India helped us when we needed the support, and now it is our turn to help India.
Sir, for paucity of time, I interrupt you. Sushant, I just want you to respond as well. 30 seconds to all our panelists left, please. I'm running out of time. Why is it that some people don't like to name China, but they are very happy in naming all variants? Why is that?
That is precisely the question, right? That if you are so keen on naming a British variant, Indian variant, Brazilian variant, and what have you, what is the objection to calling it a Chinese virus or a Wuhan virus? So the very same people who don't bother about calling it a Singapore variant or, the Singapore strain have never called it a Chinese virus or a Wuhan virus. That is one. Secondly, either you say vaccine nationalism is good, as the lady from Aam Aadmi Party is saying, that this is what we should have practiced. Or you say that vaccine nationalism is against humanitarianism and that countries need to help each other when they are in need. If for example, the rest of the world had done vaccine nationalism and nationalism on oxygen and what have you, at the time when we were in the midst of the worst crisis we have seen in independent India in terms of lives and livelihoods, would we have got that kind of overwhelming support which came from all countries, especially from Singapore? Would we have got it? So I think we need to be careful. Yes, that does not mean we harm our own citizens, but it also does not mean that we do what some of these so-called civilized Western countries have done.
All right.
By hoarding all these vaccines.
Sure, and I mean, just because some have done it doesn't mean it's a good example to follow. India can chart its own path, but that's a separate debate. I don't want to go into it. Preeti, I come back to you. Please, final comments from you as well. Would it have been better to maybe just pick up the phone and say that, let's do something about it, let's find out something more about it? There are chief ministers of other states who are calling Prime Minister at midnight. They're getting help, they're getting response.
Well, Delhi doesn't have that experience, I'm sorry to say, because even when the Supreme Court mandated that the central government provide oxygen to Delhi, the central government failed to do so. So central government is not so pliable that you can pick up the phone to them and say something to them and they will listen to it. They don't even listen to Supreme Court orders. That's one. The second is no. It is not nationalism about vaccine being given to your citizens first. It is your duty. It is your responsibility. You have to protect the lives. So many people are dead. I know people who died in my family. And I don't take kindly to people who say, it's okay if your family members are dead. It's better that we do vaccine diplomacy and send it to various countries and, enhance our image. No, I don't accept that.
You
had
I'm not
no one said that.
I did not interrupt
Don't
that.
get hysterical on me. I'm not impressed.
This gentleman, you are the one
Okay,
who's
let her
getting
finish.
hysterical
Let her
and
finish.
interrupting, and that is really bad manners, and that really
Shivani,
is
do
not
I get my 30
Madam,
seconds?
you are showing bad manners.
Okay, I have to
I
intervene.
don't
I have to
I don't
intervene.
justify this man.
But I'm not
I have
surprised.
to intervene. Neha, just 10 seconds, please, I have for you.
I understand that Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson have a penchant for theatrics, but I think what they need to understand is that everybody has lost somebody during this pandemic, and nobody is talking, taking away from that. But the fact that a sitting chief minister chooses to do theatrics even at
Okay.
this hour and causes international damage, that's
Right.
something that we need to stop.
All right, I've run out of time. I do thank all of you for joining us. Thanks a lot for watching. Goodbye.